What's going on, everybody? John Ramdeen and Robin Black with you here at Play Dead in Toronto. Just announced a huge fight for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. The light heavyweight title on the line. The current champion, you heard me right, Daniel Cormier, taking on the former champion, the returning Jon Jones. We all saw the first fight, an epic battle. Very few people have looked that good against Jon Jones. What does Daniel Cormier need to do this time that he couldn't do the first time around?
It's an interesting one. It's a fun one, and it's a different fight. It's a different fight in every way, and Cormier needs to see it that way. In
what way? You say it's a different fight.
He's the champ.
Sure. Now, the reality is, he is the champ because Jon Jones fucked up a bunch of shit.
Yeah, that's true.
And he had to leave the UFC, and Daniel Cormier became the champ. Does he deserve to be the champ? Of course he does. Yeah. Look what he did to Rumble Johnson. He deserves to be the champion. But we all know that there's that thing hanging there, probably in his mind and all the viewers' minds, that if Jon Jones always had his act together, that he would be the champion.
So you're Daniel Cormier. So I was from me to about 3 times the distance we are here. So go back about the same and about the same from Dan when he was getting ready to walk out and fight Anthony. And there was steam coming out of his nose, and he was pacing, yelling, and it was wild, man. And the interesting thing about that moment for Dan this time is, in his mind, he can know with 100% certainty this is the last time he's ever going to fight. He can know with what the hell do you have to do after this? You're either going to go out, avenge your only loss, be the champion of the world, and get the fuck out of there and retire, or you're not going to achieve that. You're going to go through life and look back and go, you know, there was somebody truly better than me. I gave it every single thing I had, and he was still able to beat, so I was the second best in the world, and come to grips with that truth. But this can be the last fight you ever have in your life, and you mentally can go in there ready to leave. And you know the cliches: leave it all in the cage. You know, if you gave it your all, you don't have to. You don't have to fear the result. All of those things, he can know that's true. You walk out there, you're never going to take that walk again.
When you look back at the past fight, the fight he just had with Rumble Johnson, who seemed to be on his A game, he was ready to hurt Cormier. As a matter of fact, he did hurt Cormier. How important is it that Cormier has that? That, you know what, I was ready to take the best punches, the most damaging blows from Anthony Johnson, and if I can handle those, I'm going to be able to take that from Jon Jones.
So I like the thinking there. Twice we did that with Anthony Johnson, and then Gustafsson. Yeah. Gustafsson is the preparation for Jon Jones. There's a body type similarity. There's some range game similarities. Speed, youth, fighting, physical youth. And you take that and you internalize that and make that real. So you had the warm-up, you had Jon Jones, so now you know what he is. You had the warm-up to experience Jon Jones again. You had 2 with Anthony Johnson. And for me, I look at Robbie Lawler against Johnny Hendricks, won, and then Hendricks won, and in the second fight, Lawler won. And there are other examples of that come to mind. There was one other one recently that was just on the front of my mind. Bisping and Rockhold, of course, is not exactly, McGregor and Diaz. So when McGregor came back and won the second fight with Diaz, a fight that he lost, and when Lawler came back and won the second fight with Hendricks, a fight that he lost, he did it by overcoming what they did wrong the first time. Lawler went into round 5 and kind of gave up on himself and realized that round 5 has to be about roar. And then in the round 5 in the next one, he's still roaring at him at the end. He's taken his understanding of what he has to be.
We're not done yet.
Yeah, exactly. In minute 21 to 25, that's where I'm going to win this fight. And he did. And then with Conor McGregor and Diaz, Conor faced the exact same onslaught as he started to fatigue and then didn't crack, and was able to come back and win with, in mental and physical endurance. And of course, the Bisping fight, not as much of an example. He literally just stepped outside and laid that cat out. But you can see that by addressing where you went wrong the last time and overcoming it, you can put yourself in a situation when you face it again, you're thrilled to have that chance again. And that's what Dan needs to do. Dan also took round 4 off. So for Dan Cormier, going into round 5, if he goes in there and has the best round of his fight, of his life, he wins this fight. If there is a round 4. Whatever is happening going into that, he finds himself in round 4 again, able to relive his failure of the past. Watch for Dan to come on, look to finish, or look to really, really hurt this guy in round 4.
Now, you say round 4, if there is a round 4. Now, if you ask Daniel Cormier, Cormier would say, the only reason there isn't a round 4 or a round 5 is because I've stopped Jon Jones at this point.
Yeah,
There's
and Jon
no
Jones
way...
would interrupt us right now and say, the only reason there won't be a round 4 is because I'm going to knock this guy out.
Hey, Cormier, say, you're not stopping me, Jon.
Yeah.
You're just not stopping me.
He needs to approach it that way. Jon played with... the dynamic between the two human beings. Like, there are people, you get along with like 90% of everybody, but there are people that you really fucking hate.
Yeah.
Like, you can, do any of them jump to mind? Okay, one of them, just think of them.
Of course!
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
think about
And do it yourself. That one guy or woman, and whoever. If you're a woman, hopefully it's a woman, a guy. But people, sex and background are not exclusive. People can really find that there's something about another person that just, whether it's you're somebody bothered by a weaselly nature, whatever it is. So you got them in your mind right now, and they can get under your skin. You can make errors if they let you. You can act out of character and find yourself being angry or weird or something. And that is the relationship that Dan Cormier has with Jon Jones. And that's real. And it's something he has to address, and it's something Jon is going to use as a weapon. He did use it as a weapon last time. And even at the end of that fight, he's still kind of insulting him. And then at the end, he goes to put his hands up like they're going to hug and then takes a swing at him. Like, he's telling him that this isn't over. And Jon can use that as a weapon. I mean, we've been talking about how Dan can approach this fight. There are tactical truths about this fight that are going to change about distance. Cormier has to throw more kicks in this fight. He absolutely has to. He has to. The old school thinking, we punch to set up kicks. You can use your feet to set up your hands too, and it's something Dan has to do. It's something you need to do if you're going to beat Jon Jones.
But
Get to Jon Jones.
It's funny that you say that because, you know, I've been to a lot of martial arts academies. I've had a lot of coaches, and they all say the same thing. The fundamental is you throw your kicks after your hands.
Yep, and those fundamentals are meant to be broken.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
They all say that as well. I was talking with Evan Boris, training with him, and he's like, yes, these are principles, but you can break all these things.
Evan,
it's confusing to I think,
of course,
for a lot of people.
Of course, that's why the deeper that we analyze into some of these fundamentals and some of these technical aspects, and that's something we've done a lot of in the past. This conversation and some of our others tend to be about the realities of the human relationships between these guys, because punches are just punches and kicks are just kicks, and you know where you stand when you do it, that all matters. But when it comes down to it, they will tell you, man after man, coach after coach, woman after woman, fighter after fighter, that it's about where their mind is in that fight. And the best fighter doesn't necessarily win. The best fighter on the night wins, and that is created by emotional dynamic. That's created by, you know, the things that happen between the two of you, all of those things, who you are on the night, what you can get out of yourself. So all those things matter. But as far as the technical stuff, it does get confusing because truths become exploited. We always use our hands to set up our kicks. Well, now I know something about you. I know something about what you're going to do. I can predict you. And if I start to now treat it as a truth that all will always happen, now you trick me and you work outside that. But Evan, who I've trained with a lot, and Henry, who is his head coach, they do use kicks to set up hands. And some of the truths that you are told when you train is true for you at this level. That's not true for Anthony Johnson, the greatest or the second greatest light heavyweight in the world.
Right.
It's not true for him. It's true for you if you go to a kickboxing class. It's true what you're told you must do in guard in jiu-jitsu is no longer true for Marcelo Garcia. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think against Jon Jones, you absolutely have to be able to create weapons from the outside. And because he's so long, those first line of weapons are going to be kicks. And if you use those kicks to set up your hands, or use those kicks to use the reaction of someone to those kicks as doorways to attacks, you can do that. But we've talked a lot about how to beat Jon Jones, and we haven't even really sat there and addressed why Jon Jones. Every conversation when someone's fighting Jon Jones or Demetrius Johnson, is going to spend a lot of time talking about how could we beat these men? How can we beat them? Is that possible? Nobody does. How do you do it? But the truth is, you got to look at why they're so great. And Jones,
growth.
Yeah,
they just keep growing.
Jones, it's unfair, and I've heard from people around him that have personally like him very much, that deep down they feel, cheated or angry that he doesn't work very hard, and he's that brilliant. Can you imagine what would happen if he really outworked everybody?
But what does that mean? Because I have the luxury of being surrounded by great martial artists, and you're trying to find the balance as a low-level martial artist, an enthusiast, I'm sure all the way to the highest level. And you're trying to find the balance of, okay, do I spar? Do I not spar? How much time do I dedicate? Do I take, how important are rest days? And one of the things that the Thai boxing, especially Thai fighters, it's like you got to do thousands and thousands and thousands of kicks. Then I hear some coaches say, well, it's those thousands and thousands of kicks that break down your body. Do you really need to kick a bag 10,000 times to perfect a roundhouse kick? And the reality is no. Once you've got it, you've got it. So it comes down to knowing your body. And if you're Jon Jones, like, you know what? I've got a handle on this. I've executed it in battle. Yeah. It's worked. We're just going to hone it. We're not going to overextend.
Yeah, he feels the fight,
feels it. And you can feel it.
Yeah, you can feel him feeling the fight. Like, he's not running plays on you. He's never been doing that.
But I think you have to recognize it, because that's what I recognize that in the fight with OSP. People are like, oh, if you fought Daniel Cormier. Well, it wasn't Daniel Cormier.
Everything would be different.
Everything would be different. He fought because he hasn't been there in a while. I need to be comfortable.
And I'm winning.
Exactly. I'm winning. But I felt that the most important thing is get those 25 minutes under your belt, because it's been a while. And eventually he's going to be fighting Daniel Cormier. You want to make sure you're able to go after those 25 minutes. Okay, where are the things that what do I need to work on?
It's an interesting one. They're so different, and their philosophies of training and who they are is so different.
And what was the vibe that you got when you were in Albuquerque? Because I know a lot of people out there, and we were talking about this, Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, those guys, the sport killers, the people that produced Donald Cerrone and produced Jon Jones and Holly Swanson and Diego Sanchez and Groovy Lando and the list of some of the most exciting
John Dodson and like guys who flip through the air and spin and jump. But this is what's wrong with this is outside of a talk about fighting. People take things that are untrue and treat them as if they're true and then act as if they're true.
Well, you say them enough and you hear them parroted enough, it becomes true, unless you're looking for your own truth of things.
Yeah. Jon Jones, when we talk about, and we use some basic words to give you the idea in your mind, have the bulb go on, creative, innovative, improvisational. We throw all these words around. Jon Jones was doing that before anybody was doing that. Jon Jones was breaking all the rules, and he can break all the rules because there's something special about him. Of course, he and his brothers are incredibly athletic. You know, there's no doubt about that. They're natural athletes as much as that's a thing.
I don't feel though, like if his two brothers decided to go into combat sports, they're not going to be Jon Jones.
But he wouldn't be a football.
No, that's right. That's why he couldn't do that.
He ended up this thing. I know. This is what he is. It's what he is. He's also got a real mean streak. There's a natural inclination to want to break you apart. And he can get
punched in the face. Cormier punched him in the face.
Gustafsson busted him up.
In the face. So again, you can't just play fight. You can't come from the world of football or hockey or whatever and expect that just because you're tough that you're going to be able to survive in this landscape. So
I think we've still got 6 or 7 weeks till this fight is happening, but it's coming up fast. And I like Jon Jones. I saw him down in Buffalo again. He's from that region, from that area. I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of his artistry and what he does. And if I was his friend, if I was close to him and I was being honest with him, I would set this scenario up for Jon Jones. you are what you are, something very special, something that is hard to beat. You've been able to come on in round 5s against Gustafsson and Cormier. You've been taken to the limit and shown what you're capable of. You have all of the raw materials and the ability to express yourself in there, and the mean streak and the toughness and the fear. You have all those things. So picture yourself as one of the other great men that are coming after you. Gustafsson, Cormier, some of those guys. They're looking at you and they're like, this thing is so incredibly challenging. It's a mountain. Some people love to climb mountains. Jon Jones is one. What am I gonna do? I need to overcome this. I need to build that. I need to strive this way. I need to improve in these ways. I need to be able to use my kicks in a better way. I need to come on in round 4. I need to be able to do damage inside that close range where Jon is. I must get the takedown. I must ask more. You have to realize that it isn't the same Cormier. This is a Cormier who has taken that moment and not only examined himself and what he needs to do to win this time, he has tested it in battle against Gustafsson. He's tested himself against Anthony Johnson. He's pushed himself to the limit. He knows what you are, and he's coming to kill you. And you better fucking take it seriously, because if it isn't this man, it'll be the next one, or it'll be the next one. Because if you stay the same, this great, ultra great Jon Jones, one of them will get to the point that they can beat you. And I would put that fear into him. He needs a bit of that. He needs to look at this not as, it's Anthony, I beat, or it's Dan, I beat Dan. I mean, he's a loser. That's not true this time. That's not true. Dan Cormier is coming to win this fight, and he knows what he has to do it. So you have to be better than the thing he's preparing to beat, which means you have to be better than what you were last time. And to do that, you better put more of yourself and your commitment into these 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks than you ever have in your life, because this will be the toughest fight of your life.
It is going to be a hell of a battle for the UFC 205-pound championship. Daniel Cormier taking on the former champion, Jon Jones. Of course, we'll break down more of the action closer to the fight.